It's been a really amazing week.
How so? Good, amazing, or not so good?
A little bit of both, actually. Been feeling an incredible amount of joy, and it's so hard to talk about it. I have so much to say, but I don't know how to tell you. I'm afraid it's not going to make any sense, or I'm not going to capture it accurately.
Well, why don't you give it a try? I mean, you said the same thing last week, and you were very clear then.
Okay, all right, well, for one, things finally came to a head with Helen. I'm not sure I handled it correctly. I think I took too much responsibility, but I was honest with her, which is good.
Yeah.
You know? And I also had it out with Charlie. I was so angry, I just let it fly. And then I got angry at Helen. I'm not sure that ended well.
Are you trying to critique how well you did in terms of speaking up and being truthful? Do you think you have to get all of this out perfectly?
No, you're right. There I go with the perfect thing again. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that my emotions, like my feelings, the intensity of my feelings wasn't really intended for the two of them. I was projecting feelings of my mother onto them. I see how I've spent my entire life trying to make things easy for everyone. I bend over backwards and take the blame for things that aren't entirely mine. But this time, I caught myself. And as soon as I did, I stopped trying so hard to make it work with Helen. I actually started distancing myself from Helen and my mom and even my sister. So, I mean, so I can understand where they'd be angry with me because I've changed my behavior. But I have to, to protect myself until I'm stronger. I know I need to be sturdier about this.
Well, you have every right to do that, to create a little distance.
I think for the first time I'm really feeling all of my feelings. I'm really starting to feel sorry for how I was as a little girl. I've been crying all week. I haven't been able to stop.
So, what do you think has allowed you to access these deep feelings?
Well, I told you that Helen wanted to talk to me, right? She was disappointed in our friendship. And I tried reaching out to her many times, and she kept jerking me around. Too busy one day, and can't make it to dinner the next day. And anyway, I knew she was trying to punish me because I distanced myself.
Makes sense.
And there's a part of it that's true. I have distanced myself. I can't tell her how angry I am at her, just about what our friendship is like. It's all about her. And her dramas and her anger and rushing out of the room and everyone having to chase after her and make sure she's okay. Anyway, she kept putting me off, and I started to get scared.
Scared?
Yeah, I realized this is exactly how my mom used to be, exactly. And if I'm this scared as an adult, how terrified must I have been as a child?
That's right.
I feel so sorry for myself as a little girl.
It's taken you a long time to get to this place, hasn't it? And I can see that there's a deep sadness. And that's understandable. But out of that sadness, I can see an enormous amount of compassion that's developing for yourself as that little girl.
I know. I feel like it's good too, because I feel like something's opening up in my heart.
Mm. Do you think that's partly why you were able to feel so much joy this week?
Yeah, I can see how that's all connected. And the good thing is I get to share all this with Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm a little kid again. Every new little insight and feeling I have to go rush and tell him all about it.
Mm-hmm. So what has his response been to you?
I mean, he's been joyful for me. He's been excited
Mm-hmm.
that I'm discovering all this. But let me finish telling you what happened with Helen first.
Okay.
So, by the end of the week, I stopped trying to contact her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I got this long email from her ripping me up one side and down the other.
Mm.
She didn't take any responsibility for any of her actions or her behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And reading it, I knew that it was all distortion and exaggeration, but it still hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's parts of it that are true.
Well, so what did you do after you received the email?
I emailed her back,
Mm-hmm.
and I took too much responsibility in the email, so I went over there and we talked. And I could honestly see how much she was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologized, because that was from my heart. I felt that.
Uh-huh.
That I hurt her.
Okay. That she was hurt. Yes,
Yeah.
that she was hurting.
But it was a mistake, because she used it to start analyzing me from a superior position, just the way my mother does. And that's when I lost it. I projected all of my feelings of my mother onto her.
And getting angry and
Yeah.
losing it. Uh-huh. Well, do you think all of it was projection? I mean, don't you think you have a right in the present moment to be angry with Helen for how she was treating you?
Well, yeah, I guess, but my mother is exactly like Helen. It's not fair for me to project all my feelings onto Helen. It's not fair.
Well, I think you're being a little hard on yourself. Sure, maybe some of the feelings about your mother and Helen get blurred up a little bit, but I know that you've also been feeling frustrated with Helen for a very long time, and she's disappointed you repeatedly. So it's understandable to me that you might have feelings of anger. I mean, isn't that legitimate in its own right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Don't you think that over time, as you begin to see your relationships more clearly and express your feelings more clearly, that maybe you'll get a little more comfortable and better with this with practice? Maybe you could tone it down over time, but you just need to practice a new skill, and eventually it'll get more and more refined.
Yeah, I like that image. So maybe I didn't do so bad after all. I got angry, but I didn't lose my sense of self. I stayed true to my anger and how I felt.
Yeah. You didn't lose your sense of self, and that's hugely important because that used to be what would happen.
Yeah.
So then, how did things end in the conversation?
That's the scary part. She got me to admit that I'm bitchy sometimes and that I distance myself, so essentially we're the same person.
That you're the same person? She ended the conversation by needing to make you two be the same person or exactly the same?
Yeah, and it was creepy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're not the same, but she ended up making us the same so she could feel better about herself. But I think I do that too. I used to think that Helen and I were a lot alike, and I think that Charlie and I are a lot alike, and I understand. I do it too. I think I was angry because I was changing and she wasn't changing, and I wanted her to catch up to me.
Yes, makes sense.
So maybe she's right. Maybe we are the same.
Well, I can see your ambivalence and how you go back and forth with this, but there's a part of you that also knows that you're growing and growing beyond her and that you want her to catch up, so that part isn't the same. But I wonder, what I would ask you right now is, I wonder, why do you think you couldn't say to her, no, Helen, I don't think we're the same anymore?
I couldn't. That's why I got so confused.
Well, okay, so let's look at...
Well, no, let me tell you what happened with Charlie first.
Okay, go ahead.
Or remember I was telling you that he's really joyful and happy for me. Well, there's times when I'm telling him things I think and feel that he can kind of put me down about it a little bit.
So what would he say?
He'd say something like, well, you feel that way now, but after a while you won't think that the author of the book you're reading's ideas are all that great, or I'm glad you have so much joy, but you seem kind of naive.
Yes, I can see where he's taking a little bit away from you. It almost seems like he needs to keep the upper hand somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I made a huge mistake. I told him that his comments were demeaning and he was trying to undermine me, and he wasn't doing the work on himself to try to improve himself, and that he got really angry with me and told me I shouldn't be making pronouncements about what he should and shouldn't do for himself. And you see, that's what I mean about trying to make everybody the same. I was trying to make Charlie like me. I was changing and I wanted him to change with me, and why couldn't I just leave him to be how he is?
Well, maybe we should back up just a little bit first for a second. I'm wondering if maybe your comments about Charlie hit a little too close to the mark for him. And maybe what you saw right there was his own defensiveness. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he's afraid I'm going to outgrow him, and I might be afraid of that too.
And you shared that with me before, several sessions ago and before that, and that's the same dilemma you've had with your family too, especially with your mother and your sister.
Oh, yeah, I need to tell you about a dream I had last night.
Okay.
There was this this whiteboard, and on one side of it, it had a list of all these qualities that just described Helen. And yeah, it made me see Helen so clearly.
Well, do you remember what the list of qualities was on that whiteboard?
Yeah, she's selfish, she's vindictive, she punishes people if they don't do exactly what they want. She's angry all of the time, but she won't express it clearly. She has no joy. She does things for people, but in a begrudging way, you know? Like, you owe her big time if she does you a favor. And I realized that it's exactly like my mother describes her perfectly. And the dream made me see it so clearly. And the other side of the whiteboard was a list of people that were like that. You know, my ex-husband, my sister, my friend from college. They were all people that wanted me to be exactly the same as them. They needed me to be the same as them, or the same as they were when they were trapped in their own pain. And I started to realize that I don't really know these people. They're like empty shells. And the only way that they can really exist is if they kind of latch on to me. And it's strange. I don't think I'm making any sense.
Oh, it's making sense all right. I think that what your dream is telling you is that you're seeing your most intimate relationships much more clearly. And this can be quite unsettling.
Yeah, I think that's why it doesn't make any sense.
But your dream is letting you know that each of the people on this list is an empty shell. That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, it reflects what you've been voicing about them for quite some time now. I think your dream just verifies that.
Yeah, but it's so hard to take in. I think that's why I said it doesn't make sense, is because it's really uncomfortable to look at.
Well, I can well imagine. It's very uncomfortable. That's quite a lot of people. It's like your whole support network. But, except for one person. Don't you think it's interesting that Charlotte wasn't one of the people that showed up on the other whiteboard? You were talking to me about some disappointments that you've had with him in here today.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if your dream is trying to highlight that there are different types of disappointment in people. That you can be disappointed in him from time to time, but that maybe he possesses very different qualities from the other people that were on the second whiteboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe the dream was telling me that Charlie does possess different qualities than the people on the whiteboard. I just realized that I've wasted so much of my life on these relationships. Relationships with people that demand that I disappear. Either disappear or expose all of my pain so that they can feel better about themselves. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired of being nice to everybody. I'm tired of being everyone's sacrificial lamb. I don't want to waste my life anymore. It's too beautiful to waste.
speaking of that, I just want you to know that everything you've said in here today is so very clear. And it makes perfect sense, and I know a lot, parts of it are very uncomfortable. But you have come such a long way. This is tough, but you're putting the pieces together. This is remarkable.